Howdy everyone, it's me once again, the one and only Killer Rodan. And today, as you can see, I'm still continuing my Disney movie marathon where I'll be talking about their movies, TV shows, I don't know, what have you. If it's related to Disney in any shape or form, then I'll be talking about it, of course. So let's just get to the point because there's still quite a bit to talk about. Because, yes, as mentioned in my previous video, there's the whole thing with Frozen's original ending, at least one of original endings before being officially made, I guess. But yeah, it just goes to show you that this film was stuck in production hell for almost a century, by the way, 75 years. And yes, there's quite a bit to discuss here, considering that fact. Yes, there's been multiple rewrites, quite obviously, and just goes to show you how these things will go on making so many changes from different various stages and whatnot. So let's just get on to the rest of it, shall we? Because this is just pretty crazy when you think about it.
Whereas Anna was going to be the everyday kind of girl who would ultimately save the day, kind of a thing. So that was a potential storyline that they would have gone along with, of course. So yeah, and in this, in the original draft of the story, yeah, it was stated that there was going to be a ruler with a frozen heart whom would bring destruction to the kingdom of Arendelle. And that was actually kind of in the film, if you recall early on in the film, where the kingdom of Arendelle was actually frozen. So, yes, this led Anna, the princess character, to this grand adventure and leads her to this castle, which, yes, of course, is made of ice. So, yeah, it's not like the film dropped that idea entirely because a part of it was actually included in the finished product. So yeah, it was sort of a part of the original ideas were kind of there, I guess. In one of the original drafts of the script, of course, it had Queen Elsa being the evil ruler, of course, and she would have been in the story where she frozen the character's heart. Of course, that character being Anna, but here's the thing, folks. Yeah, she literally does it in the original draft. However, of course, it was rewritten. But the thing is that this idea was partly kept in because in the scene I was mentioning earlier where you get to see Princess Anna walking up to the ice castle to speak about to get rid of all the ice of the kingdom, and Anna is accidentally hit by the ice. I guess the difference is that they're sisters, the fact that Queen Elsa is good, and but that scene would have ended with her being accidentally hit and not intentionally hit. Elsa, during the final act of the film, having like an army, this big up army of snow creatures and whatnot, going to Arendelle to basically just go on and just fight off whoever stands in the way. And yes, it would have featured Kristoff attempting to fight them off and ultimately failing to do so. But not only that, yes, even Hans would have actually attempted to actually do this kind of a thing. And yes, the character of Hans would have somehow managed to trigger a massive avalanche to wipe out Elsa and her army. The whole avalanche bit did remind me of what had occurred in Mulan. And you know what scene I'm talking about. I'm pretty sure a lot of you have already seen this film already. Yeah, that massive avalanche. So this kind of a thing would have actually happened in the film if they actually gone what they were trying to do. So okay, but the thing is that it would have ultimately destroyed everything in Arendelle. So the entire kingdom would have been wiped out. So yeah, this actually would have, yeah, this would have be caused by the crazy criminal character Hans. So yeah, in some ways it would have actually sounded like more of a darker movie, considering that. So yeah, it would have been a lot more gloomier when you think about it. So would have Anna and Kristoff survived this? I don't know. Maybe not, but like I said, it would have been a lot more grittier in that case, I suppose. But it does leave you to wonder how the film would have been so much different compared to the finished product. But like I said a moment ago, there's still a few bits of that did remain in the film. Yeah, like I said, bits of it did remain in the finished product, like the giant snowman. And yeah, and the whole fact that Anna and Kristoff have to basically run from that thing. Yeah, that's still in the movie. So bits and pieces of the original script here and there still remained in the final product. I mean, okay, not 100%, of course. A lot of stuff was altered, of course, but like I said, there were still elements from the original scripts that did show up, and like the whole bit where Kristoff basically has to run into town, so to speak. Yeah, that stayed there. So there were bits and pieces sprinkled throughout, I guess. So there were quite okay, I should say a lot of rewrites and rewrites, and of course that could be a damaging too because when you think about it, it could ruin the quality of a movie. And not that I'm trying to take stabs at Frozen because I actually like that movie, but this couldn't go for any movie. Rewriting things too many times can actually go against it, really. I mean, yes, of course, being stuck in limbo isn't the only thing that will happen to animation, of course, or video games. It's kind of, like I was saying, like way earlier in the beginning of the video. This is kind of happening for quite, uh, among other things as well. Yeah, I mean, yes, there's been multiple different versions of Wonder Woman, and this has been around since World War II. And we're just now getting a Wonder Woman film. Yeah, think about that. So, yeah, that's the thing, folks. It just seems kind of weird when you think about it. And, I mean, okay, yes, there was a promo film that was made with Linda called Wonder Woman. So that's like a small movie, I guess, for that. But there was a movie even made before that as well. And yes, I'm referring to this movie, which honestly was probably one of the worst superhero films out there, of course. But yeah, point being is that that came out sometime in the early 1970s. And we're now getting the Wonder Woman film, which is getting a sequel. So yeah, that's 43 years it took to have her first theatrical released film. So yeah, it's not an easy industry to get into, even if it's nowadays. So yes, the original scripts were going to deal with the whole thing with fate, what's meant to happen, what's inevitable, and whatnot. It's going to be dangerous with fatal consequences and whatnot. And also, in all these versions, even in the final product, yes, Hans was always the bad guy, and he was always meant to be the villain. And yeah, I guess the whole twist on the Prince Charming remained. And regardless if Elsa was going to be the villain herself or the heroine, either way, this was going to happen. They're going to not like each other. And the character of Kristoff, he was going to be more of a typical hero kind of thing, which can be seen in the finished product because he does go out his way to help Princess Anna, even though he may not get all that much in return, really, if any at all, and pretty much putting himself at risk for somebody he hasn't even met. So this kind of stuff was actually still part of the film somehow. So yeah, Elsa was originally going to be this self-proclaimed Snow Queen, and yeah, just somebody of pure evil, much more in tune of the original concept of the book that this movie is loosely based upon. So yes, they start off with an evil female villain, and I know it comes to the Disney princess characters, that's something they usually don't want to do, making an evil female character. I mean, it's been done before in certain films, sure, but it's usually more emphasis on having a good female character that's trying to defend the innocent and whatnot. That's more emphasis on that, really. But still, I guess we're going to be more in tune of what was going to be having a more evil Elsa and whatnot, having her just being pure evil and whatnot. So it was going to end in this big, epic battle with snow monsters and whatnot. And of course, out of which Elsa has created her own army, like I was saying before. But the thing is that, of course, like many other movies that I brought up before that went to deliberate limbo, Frozen went through so many revisions, rewrites, so many different scripts and whatnot. So yeah, that definitely happened here, folks. There was so many different rewrites that they had to go with and whatnot. I'm not sure how it would have turned out originally if they had their way. If it was gonna be any good, I don't know. These types of things that tend to be bad because being stuck in limbo, you could tweak it way too much. Yeah, more often than not, when films, regardless of genre, live action or otherwise, if they're stuck in limbo for too long, they're often really, really bad. And nine times out of 10, they're awful. And that's the sad case here. Sometimes it does happen, but unfortunately, I guess Frozen is one of the few times where the film itself does turn out to be really good nonetheless. It did remain one of my top favorites for a good while, and it still is in a lot of ways. Not that I want to see an evil version of Elsa, but I can, in some ways, see what they were trying to do with this, because they want to avoid the stereotypes that oh women are always in distress, dancers in distress, oh women are always innocent and pure, which of course isn't always the case, obviously. So I guess the whole idea from the get go was to break the mode of this, of course, and by having an evil version of Elsa. So not necessarily be a sidekick or the evil counterpart of a male character or whatever, but this character could possess all the strengths and weaponize her own strengths, and of course, talk about others, of course, and having being an expert in the way she would do, like prey on her victims through mind games, manipulation, and of course, she would be usually good at convincing others to do what she wants. And not to say that she would have been like a femme fatale kind of character per se, really. Even though this kind of a femme fatale kind of characters are usually popular in film noir, which I actually did like, by the way. I like film noir type movies. But anyway, yeah, she doesn't necessarily need to be a ruthless middle manager, so to speak, but to be the straight up villain, be the leader, so to speak, that people will be very afraid to deal with, of course. And yes, obviously, she just kind of idea will go through. She'll have members of a certain organization, of course. But even if she has followers that will put up with her just because she's evil, just even if there's some people that might not like her, but they put up with her anyway. So it could easily replay into this kind of a thing, of course. She gets results done, of course. She gets things done. Her skill set and motivations may also stand out from the others for whatever reason. If the others are on the front line, she may be a support kind of person, but in this case, when it comes to evil, dark characters, she'd be up front, of course. She's not a spy or anything, of course, or anything like that. But she's gonna be more upfront and what she wants to do, of course. So I guess they want to have a character be unleashed to the world in some sort of way, of course, and be shown that she would be this kind of a way, of course. And I guess in some ways they want to have some complete destruction of Arendelle. Of course, a much gloomier tone of story, like I was mentioning way earlier. Anna, on the other hand, was always intended to be this pure-hearted heroine who wanted to risk her own life to save the day. So, the way that Anna acts in the finished film, in a lot of ways, at the very least, traits of the character. Even that character of Anna had changed through rewrites, but bits and pieces of the character had remained throughout the multiple scripts that they've written over the years for the character. So there was some elements throughout in the script that didn't make it to the finished film, as I was saying earlier. But so yeah, there's gonna be some sort of ways that they would have, of course, be done, of course. I mean, the thing is that the people behind this film, they realize it's not a bad idea. It's not a terrible story. They did like what was going on, what they had. They really enjoyed what they were trying to do. They admit they liked it. They liked what they had in the original Drift. They really felt like they had something going. So yeah, it's not that they didn't like it. No, it's not that they hated what they had. If anything, it's quite the exact opposite. They really liked what they have right here, folks. They really liked what they had. But of course, I mean, they did like the original. They did like the ending. The ending they have for the actual film. You know, where the actual true love can break the curse of a frozen heart. Yeah, they liked the film's ending that they actually have in the finished film. They liked it too. They liked that ending as well. However, the thing is that the problem. They admit that the problem was that they felt like they had seen this kind of stuff before. So if anything, one of the reasons as to why they wanted to change it is it seemed it was not original enough. The ending was not different enough, as they would say. It's not original enough. So they want to tweak it up some more to come off more authentic and be different. Not having the same old ending that the audiences may have seen like a bunch of ways already. It's not they didn't hate the ending they had, it just wasn't satisfying in a creative sense. Because they admitted that they confessed they had no real emotion to Elsa. At least not a positive one. They had a negative emotion, sure, a negative one, yeah, but a positive one, no. So as a result of this, the people who wrote the script, they didn't care about her because she had spent the entire movie being the villain. So it was something that they weren't drawn down to at all. So as a result, they didn't feel like any of the other characters were also not relatable enough as well. So as a result of this, something needed to be done. It was explained how the writers found their own way to the plot of Frozen that they all know and love now. Making them relatable led them to the idea of her living in fear of her powers. So having Elsa be isolated because of her hours felt more relatable and made the character seem more believable. What if she's afraid of who she is? Or what if she's afraid of what she may become? What if she's afraid of hurting others that she cares about the most? Some things like this did come into question, of course. So they already had the good-hearted character Anna right there already. So if they wanted to make about sisterly love and Elsa, she has to accept herself and get rid of all their fears some sort of manner. So at the end of the day, they're just trying to tweak up some things so it can be really relatable and have the characters really like each other. And also, I must mention that they wanted to have like a twist ending that they landed on, the one that set this Disney princess apart from so many others. And again, it just goes to the idea of what I just mentioned earlier, trying to make this film be different, make it feel more refreshing compared to the other Disney princess films before, and not make it be like the same old thing that we've seen multiple times already. Well, yes, you can always argue that Frozen does borrow mainly elements, mainly tropes from the previous Disney princess themed films, but trying to twist it around in their own way, have its own merits, like I mentioned before, this is something I mentioned before, folks, is that you're trying to come up with something more original, which, yes, can be extremely difficult. I'm not one of those people who's going to say that, oh, every single idea under the sun has been done, which I have to disagree with. Because when you think about it, those so many people in the world right now. There's so many, there's billions upon billions upon billions upon billions of people in the world, and you mean to tell me that nobody has came up with more of an original idea? Give me a break here. And there's a lot of people, even on YouTube, who could come up with some original ideas, and you mean to tell me none of them? Okay, whatever. But point being is that you couldn't take an old.
Alright then, of course I'm gonna have to do another part of this because those, like I said, there's quite a bit to discuss here, quite obviously. But in some ways I kinda don't mind it. It does give me an excuse to talk about this movie for like I don't know, I lost track how many times I spoke about this movie. Oh boy. But anyway, I'm just gonna be doing another video as soon as I can when it comes to this, just to kind of wrap it up I suppose and whatnot and just be done with it. But I do appreciate anybody for looking, quite obviously, because I do enjoy making these kind of videos, of course, because that's kind of the point. Anyway, it's supposed to talk about movies anyway. Yes, quite obviously, the people behind this movie, they had no idea how much of an impact that these Frozen movies are going to have. They had no idea, but this is what happened. So it's pretty much like playing gambling in some ways, and they succeeded in what they wanted. So there you go, I suppose. But anyway, it was a risk they had to do, but here we go, I reckon. It had to be done. It had to be done. It had to be made, and eventually was made. And yes, Walt Disney himself had wanted to make this when he was alive. He just, unfortunately, he never got the chance to do so. So there you go, I reckon. That's just a sad truth, unfortunately. But anyway, I just want to talk about this some more in a separate video. Because when it comes to the ending, I mean, there's many aspects I would like to talk about, of course. Comes to the production, quite obviously. But I just want to specifically talk about the ending a bit more because obviously when it comes to these types of movies, let's just say yes, quite of course, even the endings could change quite clearly. Whether because the studios aren't liking it really, or because they felt that the scriptwriters felt that it had to change because it is not feeling correct. But there's be like a multitude of different reasons as to why this could occur. Potentially, of course. That's kind of the whole thing of showbiz, I guess you can say, because things could change on for multiple times for whatever reason. Of course, it happens though. It happens. That's just how it is when it comes to this kind of business. I guess it makes it really unpredictable in that regard. Yeah, things get pretty crazy, and a lot of people don't know this when it comes to business. The way it was originally visioned may not be the same as it was going to be. The end product may not reflect the original premise. It happens. For better or for worse, it happens. And yes, this doesn't mean that the original idea can't make it through. It can, if somebody can make it through. It's just, for this case, there was a huge number of changes, including the ending, I guess, quite clearly. But anyway, I just thought this was a, a solid idea to talk about a princess movie, of course, because I don't mind it really. I don't mind talking about princess movies, quite clearly. I enjoy them, and it's kind of weird for me to say, but I really don't care. And it's my channel, and I do whatever the hell I want. So I'm kind of doing this out of spite in some ways and whatnot. But anyway, yes, this making this movie was a huge gamble. I think, and it was definitely a big success. Anyway, I guess that will be it for now. So until next time, see ya. Oh yeah, definitely. Oh yeah. Oh boy, the amount of times I've spoken about this movie is not even funny at this point. Ugh.